So close! SpaceX's Starship launch date is very close. We explain the entire second Starship flight plan, including some fascinating changes. China achieves a massive milestone and Lucy reveals something very interesting. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It? Let's dive right in. Starship updates. Returning to Starbase, we of course focus on the latest buzz surrounding Starship's second launch. We have some updates straight from SpaceX, so buckle up as it will be one crazy ride. November began with a familiar event, Starship stacking. What was once an incredible spectacle to see, with the passing of just 2 years has become an everyday part of SpaceX's operations. And that is why you probably won't be so surprised to learn that Ship 25 was taken down just a day later. The reason behind this, as always, shrouded in mystery, yet there's no indication that it's linked to any problem with the vehicle itself. The workers may just be collecting data from this maneuver ahead of the final green light for launch. And on that front, while the license is still pending despite the FAA's nod of approval regarding safety, it looks like the Fish and Wildlife Services might be wrapping up their work. Dismiss the previously speculated launch date of November 6th. SpaceX has teased us with the first official timeframe. They are hinting at a launch window as early as mid-November, which, when you're tuning in, is a mere week away. Keep your eyes peeled, the launch license can drop any minute now. Now let's do the big one. Let's look at Starship's second flight plan in more detail than ever before. SpaceX's website recently received an update, providing a greatly detailed view into all the specifics of the upcoming second Starship launch. Buried within the site's code, the launch date of November 13th was spotted. That's likely just a placeholder rather than a hidden hint, but still, it shows how close we are. The new website also reviews the changes made to the newest Starship, which we examined in depth in our last episode. Now here it comes. Additionally, there's a new countdown sequence featured on the site, and it has some significant changes from the one available during the inaugural launch. Let's break it down. Mirroring the initial launch profile, the flight director will perform a final series of checks 2 hours before liftoff, confirming Starship's readiness for pre-launch activities. At 1 hour and 37 minutes before launch, liquid oxygen and liquid methane will enter both tanks of Booster 9. Frost lines. This marks a slight 2-minute shift from the procedures of the first launch, indicating that some tweaks have been made. It also implies that the upgrades done to the orbital tank farm will not be utilized for this launch. As if that were the case, we would see a significant change in the time it takes to fuel the Starship. The ship itself will begin its tanking procedure at 1 hour and 17 minutes before launch. Now you might be wondering, why not fuel both the booster and the ship simultaneously? The answer lies in the properties of cryogenic propellants. Handling cryogenic propellants requires minimizing the exposure to ambient temperatures to prevent them from warming up. Liquid oxygen is stored at a brisk -207°C, with methane slightly warmer at -180°C. That is -340 and -292°F for our American viewers. It is very, very cold. Upon entering the rocket's tanks, these super-chilled liquids start to warm up and revert to their gaseous state immediately. And this forces SpaceX to vent these gases to mitigate pressure buildup periodically. Unfortunately, each such venting event results in the loss of some propellant. At this point, let's clarify a concern some of you had about the handling of fuel during wet dress rehearsals or aborted launches. During detanking, the majority of the propellant isn't vented into the surrounding atmosphere. Rather, it is recycled back into the orbital tank farm for future use. The only thing that's lost in large quantities is liquid nitrogen. It is expended for applications like chilling down the pipes and heat exchange in subcoolers, which is why a line of tanker trucks was observed following Starship's initial abort. Now back to the fueling sequence. The booster's fuel capacity far exceeds that of the ship. If they were to be fueled simultaneously, the ship would reach full capacity well ahead of the booster. This would lead to substantial propellant heating due to exposure to ambient temperatures while waiting, which ultimately would result in wasted propellant. And that is why fueling is timed, so that both vehicles are fully fueled almost at the exact same moment. Fueling the booster first also gives it more structural rigidity, so it won't crumble under the mass of a fully fueled Starship. Notably, the ship's tanking now begins 5 minutes later than previously, likely to reduce the propellant loss from the heating we just discussed. Surprisingly, despite the delayed fueling time, the engine chill starts 3 minutes earlier than during the first launch. Hold on, Felix, what exactly is an engine chill? Relaxed Raptors? I'm glad you're so curious. This step is crucial when dealing with cryogenic propellants. Raptor engines attached to both the booster and ship are typically at ambient temperature for months. If cryogenic fluids were introduced into the engines at full flow without preparation, the drastic temperature change could be disastrous. There are two main concerns. Firstly, the materials making up the Raptor engines might not withstand the sudden thermal shock, which could lead to cracks due to the material expanding unevenly and quickly. Hopefully, I don't need to explain why a cracked engine is far from ideal during a rocket launch. But let's consider a hypothetical scenario where the Raptor was constructed from an extraordinary material like anti-thermal shockium or something that can withstand any thermal shock. There is still a second unavoidable problem. If the cryogenic fuel made contact with the warmer interior of the engine, it would instantly boil, transforming into gas. This rapid phase change could then wreak havoc on the flow of propellant, leading to unstable combustion, which might result in a massive explosion. To prevent this, a tiny amount of liquid oxygen is let through the engine. This slowly cools down the engine until its temperature matches that of the incoming fuel, setting the stage for a safe ignition. For the second flight, this cooling phase will start precisely 19 minutes and 42 seconds before takeoff. Then, at T-minus 12 seconds, the deluge system, also known as the flame deflector, kicks in. Booster 9's static fire already demonstrated that this solution works, and thanks to the addition of a third water tank, there should be enough supply to shield the launch site from the fury of 33 engines at full power. The deflector will engage for a full 7 seconds before the ignition sequence for the Raptors begins. The ignition phase is where we see one of the most critical adjustments compared to the previous attempt. During the inaugural flight, almost 10 seconds passed between engine ignition and liftoff, but now this period is being cut in half. The reason? To protect the launch pad. Despite the deluge system's best efforts, the launch deck may still get some degree of injury from the intense heat of the 33 Raptors. Trimming the countdown from 10 seconds down to 5 from ignition to liftoff is a strategy to minimize that potential damage. Once the engines are on, we must pray that Starship clears the tower without an issue, as an explosion on the pad is the worst possible outcome of a launch. Provided that the launch proceeds without incident, the rocket will enter max Q around 50 seconds after liftoff. Max Q is also known as the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure, where the vehicle experiences the peak mechanical stress due to a combination of velocity and atmospheric density. The speed goes up and atmospheric pressure goes down. Max Q is where those two curves overlap to create the most resistance. If there are any flaws in the rocket's structural design, they will most likely show at max Q. Yet Starship's previous flight has shown that it basically doesn't care about outside forces. Tough giant. Roughly 2 minutes after max Q, the main engines will shut down for a MECO, main engine cutoff. This time, however, it will be only a partial shutdown. Due to the new staging sequence, 3 engines will remain on at a reduced thrust level. Never stop thrusting. Following this, 2 seconds later, the ship's engines will spring to life, aiming for a smooth separation from the booster rather than a rapid unscheduled disassembly, or RUD. Assuming successful separation, Booster 9 will gimbal its engines to reorient itself for a boost back burn, using either the active trio of engines or igniting additional ones. This burn is critical for guiding the booster back to the safe zone above the Gulf of Mexico. Approximately 6 minutes and 18 seconds after liftoff, the booster will enter the transonic state, descending back towards Earth at velocities approaching the speed of sound. Moments later, an 18-second engine burn will slow Super Heavy down. This will culminate with the booster descending to a watery grave in the Gulf, as this mission does not include recovery plans. It will either sink on its own or be purposefully ruptured. Regarding the ship's fate, should it get lucky and survive through separation, its engines will burn until the 8-minute and 33-second mark. This burn will set it on a semi-orbital trajectory with its perigee, or lowest point of orbit, situated within the atmosphere. Following a brief sail in the vast expanse of space after around 1 hour and 17 minutes since liftoff, Ship 25 is scheduled to re-enter. This is likely where its story ends, as all that heat and plasma is just waiting to find a single design flaw that would allow it to disintegrate the prototype. Should Ship 25 somehow defy all odds and endure the re-entry, its voyage will conclude roughly 1 hour and 30 minutes after liftoff with a plunge into the Pacific Ocean, targeting an area near the island of Kauai. For this mission, no attempt will be made to reignite the engines. SpaceX likely skipped coding this part of the mission, as the chance of the ship surviving up to that point is basically zero. That is the official flight plan for Starship's second flight attempt. Reality will test the plan. Many have high hopes that this launch will go perfectly. Always good to have some faith. A significant achievement would be the survival of the launch pad and the successful separation of the Starship. A nice bonus would be the ability to finally test out vacuum-optimized Raptors in space. That is already asking for much. If it makes it to perigee, we will definitely see some sort of re-entry. The question is whether Ship 25 will be in one piece or many. Regardless of the outcome, excitement is definitely guaranteed, which is also the message hidden in the Morse code embedded into the launch infographic. What do you think? Will Starship reach space this time, or will we see another fireworks display? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read as many as I can. And here's a little task for you. YouTube might have unsubscribed you without your knowledge. Not kidding, they seem to do this frequently. Very important task, double check that subscribe button so that you don't miss our updates. While checking, hit the like button and consider becoming a wise supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. Everyone gets the same perks regardless of your contribution. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, now including aerial and ground photos of SpaceX's progress and countless other extras on top. The next flyover will likely happen on the day you watch this episode. No matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. The link to our Patreon page is in the description. Thanks to all the supporters who help fulfill dreams on our team. We can't thank you enough. You rock. Now, in recent plans to go to the moon again, it's clear that we're entering a renewed international space race. The goal: lunar presence and potentially territorial claims. The key players in this new race have been the United States, China, and Russia, with the latter experiencing a noticeable lag recently. So let's zoom in on China, which has been fueling its own internal competition in the space sector. A significant shift occurred when China opened its doors to private space companies, sparking a mini space race within its borders. Among the contenders, iSpace is making significant waves. It's worth noting that despite sharing its name with a Japanese company known for its lunar lander, the iSpace in our story comes from Beijing and is forging its own path. iSpace etched its name in history as the first private Chinese firm to reach orbit back in 2019, thanks to its Hyperbola 1 rocket. Yet this success was likely just a stroke of luck, as its subsequent second, third, and fourth launches all failed, only to see the fifth one finally reach orbit again. Hyperbola 1 might be the smallest rocket in iSpace's arsenal, but the company has been developing its more impressive sibling, Hyperbola 2, for several years. This rocket, with a two-stage design using liquid oxygen and methane, boasts the capability to propel up to 2,000 kilograms or 4,400 pounds into low Earth orbit. Intriguingly, Hyperbola 2 mimics some of the features of US rockets. Its first stage borrows both grid fins and landing legs from SpaceX's Falcon 9. You know the saying, if someone is copying you, you won. In 2022, Hyperbola 2's first stage demonstrator was subjected to a drop test, closely followed by a static fire at the beginning of this year. On November 2nd, a milestone was achieved by iSpace that marked a pivotal moment for China's growing private space industry. The company executed a successful hop test using the full-scale first stage demonstrator of the rocket. The test flight, lasting 51 seconds, saw the test article reach a peak altitude of 178 meters or 584 feet before making a successful touchdown. The company's roadmap initially included a series of these hop tests before Hyperbola 2's maiden orbital flight. However, in a sudden twist, iSpace has now decided to seize the development of Hyperbola 2 and instead channeled its resources into the development of Hyperbola 3. This rocket will stand at 69 meters or 226 feet tall, matching the height of Falcon 9. It will utilize the same engines and Methalox fuel combination. It is a two-stage design capable of delivering payloads of up to 13,400 kilograms or almost 30,000 pounds to low Earth orbit. In its reusable mode, Hyperbola 3 can carry 8,500 kilograms or 19,000 pounds of cargo. Oh yes, I have mentioned that this one will also feature a reusable first stage. Building on the experience and parts from the Hyperbola 2, Hyperbola 3 is also intended to feature landing legs and grid fins, allowing for the recovery and reuse of its first stage. This development is a testament to Chinese companies catching up to the innovation standards set by SpaceX. And as you can probably imagine, iSpace is not alone in this endeavor. Other competitors such as Galactic Energy, CAS Space and Deep Blue Aerospace are also in pursuit of rocket reusability. Their efforts, however, have so far been limited to smaller scale demonstrators or have yet to achieve successful landings. This competitive landscape is fueled by more than just technological ambition. There is a lot of money on the table. The Chinese government has expressed its intention to emulate the success of NASA's Commercial Resupply Service program by offering contracts for cargo deliveries to their own space station, Tiangong. This presents an opportunity for private companies to develop their reusable launch systems and be part of China's national space program. The country is also in the early phases of developing a satellite mega constellation called Guowang, basically a Starlink competitor. To allow for the deployment of this array, which includes plans for over 13,000 satellites, the Chinese government is anticipated to contract launches with the private sector. The pace of China's advancements in space technology might result in launch services on par or even cheaper than from industry leaders such as ULA or SpaceX. It's definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Venturing beyond Earth, we find the Lucy spacecraft traveling through space to a rather exciting area of our solar system. Launched atop Atlas V in October 2021, Lucy's main mission is to complete flybys of a group known as the Trojan asteroids. Trojan like a computer virus? Has this something to do with horses? No. Trojans are clusters of asteroids that share a planet's orbit. In this case, Jupiter's orbit. You'll find them at the Lagrange points L4 and L5, for example. Regions of gravitational stability formed by the interplay between the gravitational forces of Jupiter and the Sun. Such points exist for any pair of large celestial bodies in orbit, including Earth, which has its own equilibrium points. For instance, the one you're likely familiar with is the L1 point, where the James Webb Space Telescope resides. To date, over 9,000 Trojan asteroids have been catalogued. Yet, it's estimated that there could be more than 1 million such asteroids of significant size. Lucy's path will allow the study of 8 Trojans, along with 2 asteroids from the main belt. The mission's trajectory, spreading to over 6.4 billion kilometers or 4 billion miles, is expected to span 12 years. That is a really long journey. 2 years after launch, Lucy has recently met with its initial Trojan target, an asteroid dubbed Dinkinish. As the smallest of the cluster it will examine, Dinkinish served as a test for Lucy's tracking system, paving the way for future targets. Dinkinish, with its tiny diameter of just 790 meters or 2,600 feet, was challenging to study from Earth. Yet, by observing changes in its brightness, scientists suspected that there's something off about it. It likely has a friend. The close encounter with Lucy yielded a series of extraordinary images that confirm these speculations. It turns out that Dinkinish indeed has a companion, a 220 meter or 721 foot satellite orbiting it. That makes it a binary asteroid system, reminiscent of Didymos and its satellite Dimorphos, the duo targeted by the DART mission. With its first objective fulfilled, Lucy propels to its next target. The spacecraft's trajectory is set toward another asteroid, dubbed Donald Johanson, in honor of the paleoanthropologist who discovered the hominid fossil after which the spacecraft itself is named. Tiny human. The rendezvous with Donald Johanson is slated for April 2025 as Lucy continues its extended voyage through space to explore strange new worlds. You know the rest. That's it for today. Remember to smash the like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. Link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. In no detail at all. Proper rapper. Minus a 100. Let's do it again.